Every time I come in the kitchen, you in the kitchen, in the goddamn refrigerator.
I sure am hungry.
Yo. Welcome back to the Morning Dinner Podcast. On today's episode, we got our good friend Andrew Kutz. He is a photographer, aerial drone operator, DJ, foodie out here in Las Vegas. And today we want to kind of dive deep into his brain and kind of find out, what his thoughts are when it comes to, some important issues like, mistakes people make out here in Las Vegas for photography, maybe even drone footage or, some common misconceptions of photography. So, Andrew, do you want to give yourself a little intro, kind of tell us who you are?
My name is Andrew Kutz. My IG is Andrew Photo. Let's rewind that. No. Andrew Photo LV. Dude, that little crick literally threw me off.
Sorry, dog.
Like, don't pay attention to Chuck.
I'm trying not to, but he's looking right at me.
It's so distracting sometimes.
I'm just gonna be looking at you, bro. So let's see how good you are, bro.
Is this your first live stream, bro? Like, as far as like being interviewed on a podcast?
Yeah.
Is it intimidating? Is it because like the thing is, okay, so like me and Chuck, we do this. This is our 12th episode now. We've kind of gotten used to like being in front of the camera, not because we're not directly looking at the camera. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So they're just rolling. Mm-hmm. So, but for us, this is kind of like something that we've already done a couple of times. So we're kind of like used to talking and. But I heard that for some people that come on for the first time, it can be a little intimidating. Is it intimidating or are people just?
I don't think it's really so much intimidating. I think it's more so you just want to make sure that you're in a creative mind's process, it's all over the place. So when you're being asked questions, you're literally multiple choicing yourself on your answers. You're going to sit there and go, okay, what do you know what I mean? Like, what should I say? And what shouldn't I say? And, stuff like that. And then all depends on the situation.
Yeah, that's kind of something that people always tell me too. Like whenever before we go live, they'll say, "Oh, is this edited, right?" Because sometimes people say things that they don't mean to say, or they say things a certain way that they don't want it to come out. Mm-hmm. So I tell them like, no, just we don't really edit our episodes aside from trimming the beginning and the ending of it. Mm-hmm. We don't really edit it, so it just kind of like you don't have to censor yourself, but also know that whatever you say is kind of like. In there, you know what I mean? I mean, aside from the fact that we're live streaming, it goes out, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So, yeah. So tell us a little bit about you, man. Like, I'm sorry, Chuck cut you off, but, yeah, so you were saying you're a photographer, aerial videographer, and,
Well, how'd we meet?
How did we meet?
Let's start with that and give kind of a little bit of a foundation so then that way,
okay. Yeah,
people can...
That's a good idea. Well, I met Andrew when we were doing... It was the first Insta-meet that I ever went to. Yeah. It must have happened sometime last year. I want to say in August, September last year. Mm-hmm. It might have been. It was one of those Portrait Vibe meetups downtown. Never been to one, so I kind of didn't know what to expect. So I just kind of showed up, and I saw you there with the Rotolight, and saw you were kind of like running the game as far as like the lighting came, and I think you did bring your own Rotolight, and kind of like you knew what you were doing, and I can tell that. And even when we first met in the parking lot for that meetup, like I had already chopped it up with him and kind of like said, "Oh, this is who you are. This is what you do." Oh, I think that was the first time I found out what moody portraiture was, because at that point I didn't even know what that was. Because I've done photography before, but I'd never done portraiture work. So,
right.
But yeah, that's where I met him. Where'd you meet him? Somewhere else?
He met me somewhere else.
Yeah, somewhere else.
Yeah, I don't know. It's some guy that you hired off the street, huh? I understand how you are when it comes to like charity work.
Yeah.
So
snap.
Good for you, man. Good for you.
So how did you get into photography, bro?
Oh man, good question. Multiple choice.
Yeah.
No, actually I got into photography about before I was so rudely interrupted. I got into photography about I lost my train of thought, man. Like literally
I didn't do shit that time, bro.
7 or 8 years ago, I actually bought my first. Let me see if I can remember. It was the A65, the Alpha 65, so the DSLR, and I bought that as a combo with the kit lens, and the kit lens was a
A65, not A6500, right?
No, the A65 DSLR.
7 years ago.
So it still had the click, 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 click.
Wait. So what company was that?
Sony.
Sony?
Yeah, Sony.
Damn, you're Sony gang all with it.
Straight Sony, dude. Yeah.
For real?
Yeah. So I did that, and then I bought the A77. That's what it was. I bought the A77, and then I had and these are the predecessors to what is now, actually the predecessor, the infant, or the one that started it all as far as mirrorless, were the NEX line. And so I had the NEX5, and so you had the NEX3, the NEX5, the NEX5C, I think it was, or A, and then you went to the 6, then you went to the 7, and then people were like, okay, you guys are trying a little too hard. And then they came out with the 6,000 and the 5,000 and so on and so forth. But that's how I got started, and I had no idea what I was doing. So I was like, out at Red Rock on a tripod in 98-degree weather with a telephoto lens zoomed all the way out, taking pictures of lizards.
Oh wait, so you started off with like nature stuff, like more landscape?
It was literally like, I had no idea. Yeah, hobby. I had no idea what I was challenging myself. I'm one of those that, like, if I find something that I want to do, back then, 7 years ago, YouTube was strong, but it wasn't developed as it is now. You know what I mean? Or just your cross platforms, whether or not it's social media, and if you go back farther, MySpace and so on and so forth. But I started getting into that, and then I started to do some type of, like, I guess, portraiture, if you would want to call it like that. It was like the bad version of it, I have no
Wait,
problem.
so how long ago did you start getting into portraiture?
Man,
I guess would be the question.
Seriously, though? 2 years ago.
2 years ago? Okay.
Yeah, where I literally like locked down, and I was like, okay, I see where this is going. Like, the big intimidation when it comes to portraiture is interacting with another person.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people know how to talk at people, but they don't know how to talk to people. And especially when you're like directing somebody, because, when you're shooting a model or you're shooting a subject, you want to direct them in a way where you can do it respectfully.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because you have to remember, even though they are a mannequin pretty much, because whatever their outfit is, or if you're, branding, if you're, that kind of stuff, you still nonetheless, in order to be able to get what you want to be able to get, you have to be able to talk to them instead of at them.
Right.
And what equipment were you using at first? Like strobe photography and all that? Or
yeah,
natural lighting?
Because I kind of know you for lighting.
Concept lighting,
like, concept lighting with like 3-point or using like creatively. Did you start off using
I bought the video bricks, the bricks that people used for video.
the ones
So
with the CRI was like 80?
Yeah,
or
it was
50?
just, and I mean,
straight
it's
green.
straight, and I mean, like, it's like that blue white, ugly light, you know what I mean? And then I would just put like gels on it, start experimenting with that. But it went back, man, like 2 years ago. I got on Facebook, and I was in one of the like creative, communities pages and stuff, and I noticed a photographer had posted 2 or 3 pictures, and I reached out to that photographer and I said, hey, would you mind if I edited these? Because I had been into illustration and animation and stuff like that for a very long time, and so I felt that I could, put it in Photoshop and kind of mess with it and, do whatever. And he was like, yeah, no problem. And that person ended up being Daquan. And so, literally like a week later, I had reached out to him, and they were going up to Red Rock to shoot, some ideas with a couple models and stuff. And I said, hey, man, would you mind if I tagged along and let me bring my drone? Now, mind you, 2 years ago, drones were still, ooh, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But now they're, it's like, oh, look, a drone, But so I brought the drone out, was flying it around, getting like aerial footage of the shoot, got some, some cool dronies and stuff like that. But that was the first time I actually was sitting around and standing around watching people who actually knew what they were doing. Mm-hmm. And of course, I didn't technically know what they were doing. I was simply just watching, okay, I'm noticing this person is constantly positioning themselves in different ways, and they're actually bending their knees, and they're getting that shot. The angle is not just a tripod. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And so, it was that was pretty much where it started. And then once I started to, I want to say 40% of my knowledge probably comes from Daquan.
Really?
Easily, 40% of my knowledge.
Now,
and I have no problem giving him credit for that too. But there were other photographers as well. Jay, Marlon, who's refills, mm-hmm. and then Fabio, and like there's plenty of photographers out there that I've learned. But we're such an introverted mentality when it comes to the process, and everybody's really protective of what they do. That's
Now,
perfect.
well, when you say we, do you mean like photographers in general?
I
or
just
you
mean in
and
my
Daquan?
experience.
Okay.
I'm going to say in my experience because it's not. It's I'm just going to say in my experience. And so when you hear this, oh, what was the setting on that? What was your aperture? What was your f-stop? And I've had people ask me that, and I just kind of like look at them, and I noticed that it's competitive. I mean that's fine, but once I started to get into shooting with Daquan more and shooting with the other guys more, I started up a thing called suite shoots, and I would go and rent a hotel suite, and I would charge, we would charge people, we would host the shoot, and we would charge people X amount of dollars, the most being $50, if I remember correctly, but we were doing $5-10 a piece, and we'd have 6 or 7 people show up.
Yeah.
And if the room cost me $1.20 or something like that, I'd make half of my money back and I call it a day, just for the simple fact of the sacrifice was for the networking.
Right. It's to bring people together, get people out of the house.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's tight.
And a lot of the times when you talk about locations like that, you get that opportunity to provide a location that maybe some people don't have access to all the time. They're used to maybe shooting on the street all the time, or they're, so when you say, okay, hey, I got a terrace suite at the Cosmo, or I have this, here or whatever. Now you're providing a whole new different aesthetic that's professionally put together. Because if you walk into those rooms, almost every room, the wallpaper's dope, the bed's positioned right, the lamps are positioned right. You have a whole bunch of different things going on in that room that if you know what to look for and you know how to frame it, it's all day.
Yeah, it's kind of like weddings, right? That's why a lot of people like doing weddings because or wedding films is because when you're an independent filmmaker, you have to spend money. You have to have a budget to create your film, right? But when you go shoot a wedding, the budget's already been allocated and it's already been spent on everything you need to make everything look good, right? That's tight. Yeah. Wait, so you started off doing those sweet shoots with Daquan and everything?
Daquan and Fabio.
Okay.
And trying to think of who else.
Damn.
Unfortunately, it's
Forgot his name.
Yeah.
Damn.
A good
Shade. Just kidding.
It was Daquan, Fabio, and myself that pretty much
Yeah.
they came in and they were like, yeah, I'm interested, let's do it. And what that was because I was a newbie, I needed to find somebody or find people who were already in the community. And those were the 2 people. And so 2 total different styles, you know what I mean? 2 great guys. And so pulling from their portfolios and their access to who they had, I simply observed.
Right.
Majority of the time I had my cameras there, you know what I mean? But I could tell you one thing, I didn't know what I was doing.
Right.
So I simply observed. I was watching posing, I was watching lighting, I provided a light, but they're natural light shooters, which is fine. But then I started throwing gels and the video lights, in and stuff like that, and creating all these things, which now everybody's into, which is, all these different colors and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm sure this has always been a standard, but now all of a sudden, they're looking at that and they're going, oh, wow, okay, I could do the blue and I could do the red and I can do this and I could do the orange and I could, and now all of a sudden these things, the mind thing, creates.
So what do you think is one of the biggest problems that people encounter that you see when people shoot with gels? What is the biggest problem that you see that you would like to see addressed or kind of like fixed? Because I know what I see that I can speak to, but I want to kind of get your opinion on, whenever you see somebody post somebody with like a gel shoot light, you know what I mean? Or they're gelling their flashes, their strobes, their video lights to get that mood. What do you think is like one of the biggest issues that
Harsh
people,
light.
Harsh light?
Harsh light.
What do you mean by harsh light?
Harsh light in regards to they don't know how to control their camera to actually capture the light at its softest point. Like you don't want it to, if you're gonna provide that kind of harsh light to a model, then give them those little, the little glasses that they put on before they go sunbathing, into a little machine that they sit down and the freaking thing just beats into their head. Give them those, because that's what you're literally doing. You're taking the texture away from the skin. You're completely burning the shadows out. You know what I mean? And so it's like, if you're able to, it literally takes 5 seconds to move a light back 5 inches.
Right.
And that 5 inches literally will take it from soft light to where it complements, and then the shadows still stay relevant, or 5 inches back to where it originally was, and now all of a sudden it's just,
Or you
it's
can
crazy.
use the diffuser, right?
You can use a diffuser, but you would be surprised how many people don't know about diffusers.
What's a diffuser?
Yeah. No, well, no, I
they
meant
really
it
don't.
like
Reflector, yes, but diffuser, like actually putting, the you know, and there's nothing wrong with that. You know, I tell people all the time that it's cost $20 for a diffuser. You
Yeah.
can go to Best Buy, you can go to any, you know, whatever your preferred outlet is, you know, you can get them cheaper. You can get the 2-inch one, the 24-inch one, you know, so you're not looking professional. You go on the strip and you pop out one of those, you know what I mean?
Right.
One of those 48-inch ones, they're going to be like, sir, what are you doing? You know what I mean? But if you pop out the little one, and I tell people the same thing with like aluminum foil. You know, aluminum foil,
As a reflector.
As a reflector and also as a diffuser, because one side's, you know what I mean?
I forgot
Yeah.
about that.
Matte, if you will, and then one side's shiny. You know,
now. How did you? Because I'm pretty sure starting out the gate, you didn't know about diffusion, controlling light. You didn't know about color, temperature, all these things. Like, what was your biggest learning source for like learning what you know now, and how big was that learning curve to get to where you are?
60% of the stuff that I learned was from YouTube.
YouTube
Easily.
University.
Same here.
But the crazy thing about it, and that's what I noticed with your past guests, is a lot of people say social media or the online platform. You know what I mean? Whether or
Right.
not
I don't think we have yet had a guest that said, "Oh, I went to school for this." You know what I mean? Like, maybe one or two of them might have, but they never mentioned it.
Well, I went to the Art Institute for 3 years, you know, and I was at Art Institute of Las Vegas, but I was digital film and video production.
That's
so
funny.
I
I went there too, but I went for audio engineering.
Yeah, and I was doing the controls for the TVs and
Yeah.
like doing broadcasts and all that type of stuff, and that was great because that's what I was into. I've always loved video, but then I don't know. I just thought that photography for some reason kind of went this way. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I kind of like that. Let me try that a little bit, because the video thing for 3 years, I was just like burn out. You know what I mean? Because you can only go, oh, look, it just switched.
Yeah, especially in the broadcast.
Oh,
world,
look,
it's
it just,
pretty
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
pretty linear.
Were,
Yeah.
there, were there ever any like content creators or photographers or something that you looked up to that made you kind of look at the smaller details? Because the thing is, like, for me, when I started doing what was it? When I started doing working for that photographer in Cali, and I kind of saw how he was looking at different things, like details, like where's that light falling, where's the harsh shadow being created. Do you get a bunch of like different artifacts on the face when you're gonna edit something together? Like those kinds of things I learned from him. Was there anybody specifically that you learned from that kind of taught you to look for the little details?
Personally,
Yeah.
as in like being able to reach out and touch them. Anybody in town?
No, it could be
No,
anybody.
I'm just saying. I'm just giving you two the platform. So it's like, Daquan, right, was pretty much like he would look at a shot, and he'd go, okay, that's dope, but, and then he would show me this and this and this and this and this, and I go, oh damn, you're right, you know what I mean? And I go
Yeah.
back, and of course, tail between my legs, head down, and I'm just like, sure. Because a majority of the time, you only get one chance to get it right. You know what I mean? And that's crazy that I say that, because that's actually the byline of one of the photographers that I look up to. And so when I started to get into researching photography, like you could type in any search term, no matter how generic or how complex the search term, in YouTube, and it will pull up hundreds, if not thousands of videos. And you just simply scroll through and pick out the video you want to watch, and within the first 5 minutes, if they're using a translator, it's really bad English, you just go to the next one, you know what I mean? And
It's kind of like you get to pick your own instructor, right?
that's crazy, yeah. And it doesn't
YouTube
cost
University.
$90,000 for 3 years.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so, the first person that I happened to stumble upon was Jason Lanier. And when I stumbled upon him, just his appearance, for me, and the way he was talking, it automatically kind of threw me off, because it's like, okay, who's this like sassy, cocky guy, right? And he gets this all the time. That's fine, But then for some reason, 2 months later, I went back and I went to his channel and I started watching his videos. And I'm like, okay, I see where that's coming from. He's a Sony artisan. You don't apply for that. You get picked for that. There's only 50 in the world. You know what I mean? So, and then he does all these things, and everything that he talks about is straightforward, which I've kind of taken on in regards to the way that I speak to people, is that people don't have time for the butter up version. You know what I mean? If they do, then they're not doing it for the right reasons. At least I believe that.
What do you mean by that?
You know what I mean? If you're going to soft code everything every time you talk to somebody, and you're going to tell them, alternatives versus the straight line, you know what I mean? Then
Like
I think
where they messed up at and whatnot.
Yeah.
And like what they're not doing correctly.
Yeah.
Got
You
it.
know, and when it comes to art, like you guys have said in almost every single podcast, is art subjective. So for me to imply or to, say or voice my opinion about something is my opinion, which is the right that I have. But at the same time, it's my opinion.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's perfectly fine. But when it came to Jason, the thing that really drew me in was the knowledge base that he had behind him. So he would say something, and you would sit there and kind of go, I don't know if I'm going to keep watching this. But then he would explain why he said that. And then I would go, I'm going to keep watching this, and I would just keep watching the videos, then boom, subscribed and started watching all his stuff. And that's wherein came Rotolight and like all this stuff. But Miguel Quiles Jr. is, I consider him the studio portraiture god. You know what I mean? He uses one light, which most studio portraiture is one light, depending on the power of the light, depending how big, the position, all that stuff, you can create great stuff.
I used to work for this portrait photographer who used on average 4 to 5 lights.
Mm-hmm.
Who? The one.
Yeah, the one in Cali.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
crazy.
4 to 5 lights. I think that's kind of what like helped me like jumpstart, because before that, man, I wasn't looking for details.
Right.
I was one of those videographers that would just pick up the camera and shoot whatever was there. I didn't think about placement, like moving things in a certain place to where they, if it showed up on frame, it had to be there, or it was meant to be there.
Yep.
I didn't look for, okay, are there harsh shadows on the face? Does it look weird? Is there like a shadow being casted somewhere that you don't want it to be? And those are things that people don't look for.
Yes.
Something I didn't look for.
Right.
Until I started working for a guy who was essentially on steroids, and I was a great sponge. You know what I mean? For me to absorb that knowledge.
Right.
What are some things that you kind of picked up from Jason Lanier that you would agree the most on?
His business mindset.
What's
his
that?
Business mindset. There was a perfect example. One of his workshops that he had like, I want to say 200 people in the room, and he's standing at the stage of the, at the top of the room and stuff. And he asked everybody, okay, how many people by show of hands love to shoot weddings? Like 3 people showed up. 3 people, put their hands up.
Out of an entire stadium?
Out of the
people?
whole 200 people, right? And so then he said, okay, so by show of hands, who doesn't like shooting weddings? And the whole room like put their hands up. He goes, okay, go home because this workshop's over. And literally you could, I'm sitting in my living room watching this on an iPad with headphones on, and I could feel how dead that room went, literally like that, you know what I mean? But then he said, I'm going to explain to you why, you should think the opposite. And that is with every photography. I'm sure you've done weddings, and you guys have done weddings and stuff, and people who do weddings. It's a marketable and profitable part of photography and videography. You know what I mean? Way more than your standard artistic versions, if you will. The artistic version is super subjective, but when you're doing weddings, you're capturing a moment that's never going to be repeated in somebody's life. Mm-hmm. So they're willing to pay if they're capable of, and most of the time they are, because they usually expense that or save for that to make sure that moment is the perfect moment. Mm-hmm. And if you happen to be the person that's there to capture it, that's a nice paycheck.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And his thing was, I do 2 to 3 weddings or 4 weddings a year. He makes X amount of dollars in 5 figures, and that's his salary. And then the rest of the year, he does his little workshops and he does all the stuff that he wants to do because he has the flexibility and the income, to be able to do that.
So you're saying he doesn't let his ego get in the way of the way how he feels?
No.
How he feels like, I personally don't like weddings, so I don't do weddings.
No.
He doesn't feel that way.
Mm-mm.
But I also feel like he's at that point as well, like where when he does a wedding, he knows how to make it, like, so he has fun while doing it, he got to that level as well. Because I feel anything you do in the photography world, because weddings aren't that bad. We say it's bad, and trust me, I don't like them, but they can be fun, for sure. You can make something fun out of it. That's what I believe.
They're great to live through. Like, you can live through the couple, you can live through the crowd, you can live through the aunt and the uncle, you can live through the little kids that are running around, in suits that don't fit them, but they're so adorable. And then you got the one dog with the bow tie on, and then there's moments that you're never going to experience in any other scenario that you would experience in a wedding, for the simple fact that it's so candid.
Yeah.
Nothing is predictable. There's not, okay, here's a step and repeat. Come over and stand here. Okay, smile. You know what I mean? It's not like that. It's not like the photography we like to do on the side, where it's a backdrop. Come stand in front of it. Hold on a second. Let me adjust some lights.
Yeah,
you
don't
know what I
have
mean?
that chance to anticipate the moment. Really,
Yeah.
you kind of have to, be prepared at all times.
Yeah.
Going back to creative portraiture, what was it that made you like want to kind of because I've seen your portraiture and it's very different from anybody else's portraiture that I've seen that I follow personally on Instagram. What was it that kind of guided you to do them the way you do them?
Because I didn't want to do what everybody else does, and that is in no means negative.
Right.
I mean, everybody has their learning purpose or their learning formula.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And if the learning formula is to shoot trend, then shoot trend. I did trend for a while. I did the moody stuff. I did the, all this, oh, look, it's the glass ball, and, it's the fairy lights, and, oh, it's a, it's the prism, like all these different things. And that's fine, but when you are a person that walks into a room wearing a red sweater and everybody in the room is wearing a red sweater, how do you stand out?
Right.
And I'm not saying by any means that that's a negative. I'm just simply saying that it's like, if you're going to get into something, learn that, then go to the next thing. And one of the things you had mentioned to me about what we were going to talk about is when you lose the creative juice. You know what I mean? There's weeks that, I don't want to shoot. Just because I'll go through my feed and I'm like, oh man, really, like this again? Oh look, it's neon. Oh hey, glasses and neon.
He's hating on neon, bro.
So
he's hating on neon right now.
Hold on a second. No. But what I'm saying is, and then I'll unfollow those people for the simple fact that I don't want that feed. One of the things that really, that I have to over-explain all the time is people say, well, why don't you follow me back?
Yeah.
And it's by no means personal, because my account is business. And so if I want my feed to pretty much represent where I'm going, then I need to keep it consistent in regards to the steps of evolution that I'm looking to achieve.
Are you saying like more of like you're following people who inspire you?
Yes.
What you're creating?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
got it.
Yeah. And it's nothing against the models. It's nothing against other photographers. It's nothing against...
at the same time, it's kind of like you don't need to follow every model you work with, because they're not 9 times out of 10. Well, I wouldn't even say 9 times out of 10, but majority of the time, they're not full-on working models to the point where like they're still posting like, hey, selfie at the beach.
Right.
It's like a food photo or something.
But who are we to criticize that? We're not, because
No.
that's their account. But at the same time,
course.
The argument is, well, why don't you follow me back?
I mean, what you said really sums it up, because you got to follow what works for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because like that's what I did, was like I stopped following people who were doing a lot of the trendy things and all, because I make music as well, and I stopped. I was just like, I'm done listening to the same thing over and over.
Because in a way it does influence you, man. In a way,
100%.
you have to kind of filter what you see,
or consciously.
Yeah.
Like it's there.
Because there's a lot of times where like I've seen those like moody portraitures where it's like, all greenery and it's like the same tones. You know what I mean? Like and I noticed that I kind of want to start shooting that. And that's dangerous, because when you start seeing other people's work and you want to start shooting that way,
you got to be really careful with using negative in those, because for the simple fact that the people that are out there at that point shooting that to learn that is their thing. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, there's nothing wrong with it.
And don't get me wrong. When I'm walking down the street and I see a nice little wall of bushes and I have a model with me, hey, go stand over there real quick. Click.
I make fun of it. I make fun of it all day, bro. I don't care. I'll hurt your feelings.
Yeah, because
Don't post
he's hurting
that.
his own feelings, because he does it too.
Hey, bro, that was one photo I did.
No, I'm not saying it's a bad thing.
Okay.
I mean, I do the same thing.
I'll say it's a bad thing.
Because the thing is, you have to learn, and it's best to do something and try it out, you know? But I feel like, to be completely honest, and anybody out there listening, find your own style. That's how you get to that point. in any success. You know, you can copy all day long, but a lot of people who've made it, usually because they're unique, and it's also the business
Yeah,
aspect.
you got to
and
think
who
about, you know, if you're a chef and you're learning how to make macaroni and cheese, you buy the box version first.
Right.
Well, I'm not going to say chef because then you'd actually get fired if you were a chef. They'd be like, where the hell did you buy this? You know what I mean? But the analogy is that you start with the box. You read the instructions on the back. You learn what the, you know, what the ratio of milk to powder is. You mix it up, boom, 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 you find it. But that one person that threw bacon in the first time,
damn, that's the GOAT.
Yeah.
And then the dude that threw tapatio in there.
no, but, I mean, you know, but you got to think about it. So it's the same thing. So it's like now all of a sudden, if somebody uses a different filter, if somebody uses this, if somebody uses that, that's fine. You know, that's your thing. But then people will latch on to that, and then they just overdo it. So then you lose the. For me, you lose the passion to want to create that.
100%.
You know what I mean? So then I
Saturated.
just move on, you know, to the next thing.
Bro, I lose the passion to want to create without other people's influences.
Deep.
You know what I mean? Like sometimes I don't know, bro. I don't know what it is. Sometimes like I've had times where I'm just like, if what I'm creating is not different enough, I don't see the point to doing it.
But what is
You know
the
what I mean?
definition of that to you, though?
You see that's the
That's-
thing,
that's
and that's
the-
where I come from, where I start thinking everything's already been done. What can you possibly do to do something different? You know what I mean? And then I find other photographers like Art Vasilenko. At Art Vasilenko, he's this dude, and I think he's in I don't want to mess it up. I think he's in Syria or something.
Okay.
But his portraiture, bro, it is weird.
Location.
It's weird.
Location.
Well, sometimes it's studio, but it's also the way he does, like how he dresses them and how he uses color. You know what I mean? Like,
But you got to think about, for somebody who's lived overseas, you know, I've lived I've been to every country in Europe except for Poland.
Really?
And so, you know, I lived there from 84 to 94. 82 to 94.
So real quick, how'd you live everywhere?
My parents were civilian military. So they worked on the bases. They were actually administrators. And so my dad was the principal of my high school and my elementary school.
Dang.
So let me just tell you this. Never got in trouble, and I always had lunch money. But
That's tight.
when it comes to living overseas, and I highly suggest anybody that's
It's a
listening,
different life.
I highly suggest that, especially in a creative mindset, travel as much as you can. You know what I mean? Really travel as much as you can, because it will open your mind up. You know, my bucket list, you know, for photography or dronography would be Machu Picchu, you know, Taj Mahal, Egypt, Norway, England, you know, White Cliffs of Dover, you know, I mean, all these different areas where from an aerial aspect, you know, they would just be something that nobody can capture, you know, to a certain extent. But when it comes to the mindsets of foreign photographers, from people from other countries, I think a lot of that also does represent the mindset or the society or the community they're in.
Yeah.
Because we have no idea what all of these countries and the mentality of a small village or the mentality of a town versus big cities like we have. You know, we go to New York, somebody goes to New York, and there's so much going on that, you know, everybody's just like, oh my God, and the heart rate, you know, the blood pressure, all that stuff. You just love it. You know what I mean? But you have no idea which direction to go in, because you're just like, okay, I could do street right there, but then there's food right there, and I could go down here, and then I could do long exposure here, and then I got a sunset here. Like, all these different things are going on. But when you have somebody who's in a small town and you have those locations like you were talking about, or you have the lighting or the aesthetic or whatever, I think it also represents where they live too. Because you got to think about, like with Vegas, you know, a lot of people do the lights. A lot of people
neon
do the
lights.
lights.
Damn, that shit's annoying.
They do
But
the- you know, they-
it's the
Hey,
only
bro.
thing- it's the only thing we got here. Trust me.
Hey, bro.
I shoot too, bro. So
I've made some fire ports, bro.
Hey, everybody. Hey, no lie. I think most photographers.
Ooh.
Most photographers out here are dope.
Rewind.
Like, they actually, like, I don't know. I get inspired off of most people out here.
Yeah.
Like 100%. Like, I think it's dope for sure.
Let's talk about one of the, because we've talked about this before when it comes to etiquette, right? Etiquette in the studio, or etiquette to working with a model. I already know how I feel about it, but like, what's one of the things that you wish, maybe not just people in Vegas, but people in general would kind of understand about the etiquette of shooting in studio, shooting with models, and how to approach that situation? Because I know you've called me out too on times when I've done a shoot and you've been there, about, you know, the way you speak, right? Can you speak a little bit more to that?
Wow, you just made me sound like the bad guy.
No. It's not a bad thing at all. It's completely like,
I think it falls
there's
back
an etiquette.
I think it falls back on the beginning of what we were talking about in regards to talk at versus talk to. Don't talk at people because a person is not a thing. You know what I mean? So you're going to get the best result. It's kind of like one of the things that you guys talked in the last podcast or one before that, was that if people don't like you, it doesn't matter how good you are, they're not going to work with you.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
You could be the greatest, you know what I mean? Goes with the job too. If you're a hard worker and you keep your mouth shut, you know what I mean? You're going to stay employed. If you're a hard worker and all you do is brag about how hard you work, it's going to be a little harder. Going back to your question, though, I think a lot of that comes back to the fact that our brains, when we're creating, are so all over the place that when we say something, it's part of the process, and it's literally zooming by. So if you're thinking about something, oh, maybe I could put the light right. Oh no, turn to your left. No, oh, I really like your eye right there. Okay, boom, boom, boom. Okay, you know, this and this and this. We're commanding. You know what I mean? And you have to literally look at that and then separate your mind and your creative process from your mouth. So then that way your mouth is like slowed down and you're able to talk at the model. Because there's so many in the professional realm. I was actually talking to a model about this earlier today. There's so many in the professional realm, and as far as the realm, as far as you know, people make this modeling thing such a, you know, great fantasy, and it's, oh my God, I want to be a model, and that's perfectly fine. Have your aspirations. Good luck on it. Pursue it. Achieve it. You know what I mean? But a lot of people don't realize that in a professional environment, there's 15 models. There's a brand there. Those 15 models walk up. Each model walks up to the backdrop. Okay, turn to your left, please. Great, thank you. Chin up just a little bit. Thank you. Okay, pull. Okay, do this. Step forward for me. Okay, kneel down. Thank you. Next.
Right.
Right. Conveyor belt. Pretty much. Yeah. You know what I mean? And if you want to talk about the epitome of not feeling valued, but in the end, you get paid what you get paid.
Right.
You get the exposure you get. So what is the sacrifice? Is it worthy or willing to sacrifice? You know what I mean? And we have the luxury of being able to be one-on-one and actually establish relationships or rapport with models when we shoot, that when they come back, they know how we are. So if they know how you are and you talk to them in a certain way, then they know that that has no intention to be insulting or disrespecting or, you know, degrading or whatever. So I think that when it comes to speaking to models in an environment like a studio where you're one-on-one, you just have to, you have to remember that they're people too, I guess.
Yeah, that you have to remember that us as photographers, and this is something that you kind of showed me, is us as photographers, we think very technically. We think, oh, this light is doing this to your, but when we take a picture, it goes off, and then we look at the camera, and then we go, and then you give them the loss of confidence.
Oh, I already know where you're going with that.
Yeah.
There was one photographer that we walked to 6th and Franklin, and we were walking around with a model, and this photographer was literally contradicting everything that he was doing in front of the model. And I just sat there and I looked at the guy like, dude, shut up. He's literally, he would take a picture, go, yeah, no, that's not good. No, I don't like the exposure on that. No, I don't like this. I don't like, no, okay, I didn't know. Okay, no. The model's literally 3 feet away from you.
Yeah.
Her confidence is just,
you know what I mean?
depleted.
So it's like, and I'm watching her and I'm sitting here, you go from the strong shoulders to the, owning yourself, the outfit that you have on, the hair you did, all that kind of stuff. And you see those shoulders start to drop. You know what I mean? Body language is key. If you don't know how to read a person, you might as well forget it, because you have to literally, the model is just as nervous being taken a picture of as you are being the picture taker.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so it's like you're worried about, okay, how can I talk to them? And a lot of the instances, it's guys that are taking pictures of models that they're attracted to. you know. And then what ends up happening is like they're trying to, yeah, so, you know, you could do this. And I'm just like, yo, where's this like Sunday Quiet Storm voice come from? You know what I mean? Because, you know, you could just, you know, if you want to do this, you know, what?
Yeah.
You know, turn to your left. You know what I mean? Turn to your left. And the models that I work with, they all understand that. I'm like, no, that's great. Okay, cool. Chin up just a little bit. All right, that's awesome. Go ahead and turn this way for me. Boom, boom, boom. All these different things, you know. And the tone of it has to do with knowing to neutralize the tone where it doesn't sound abrasive. You know what I mean? Where you're not, no, turn to your left. You know? Oh, do me a favor, turn to your left. You know, okay, chin up just a little bit. Perfect. Thank you. Hold that for me. 3, 2, click. Boom. Then you go to the next person, or you go to the next pose or whatever. Okay, do me a favor, arch your back a little bit.
Right.
Drop your shoulder a little bit. Do this. Da 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 da. You know.
Yeah, that photographer seemed to have been thinking out loud, which is something you never want to do because, like you said, when he was looking at the back of the camera going, oh, no, that's not good.
Yep.
The model doesn't know you're talking about exposure, doesn't know you're talking about lighting. They just know that you took a picture of them and it didn't come out right.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
And a lot of photographers would, you know, I need to generalize that statement. I've noticed in my experience that it is great to actually show models what you're capturing, good or bad, because then what ends up happening is then the model can know what they need to correct as well. You know what I mean? So if it's a pose, if their shoulders, if their hair needs to go behind their neck, if, you know, all these different things, they're there to learn too. Every single model that I work with, especially the new ones, I tell them all the time, pay attention to what the photographer's doing.
Yeah.
So if you're in a studio and they're setting lights up, pay attention to what that light, ask questions. You know what I mean? Because the more multifaceted or the multi-talented you become, now all of a sudden you go from being a model to a creative director, to a brand ambassador, to a studio owner, to now an agent, to, you know what I mean? And all because you know how, you have all these different things that on your table that you know how to manage and you know the knowledge of, you know, male and female. And so, and a lot don't. They literally just.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with that because they don't know any better. But a lot of photographers also, or in my experience, I need to stop saying that. But in my experience, I noticed that there is little to no regard into actually educating during the creating process.
See, you call it educating, I call it directing.
Different.
When you direct a model, it's the same thing as educating them. I feel. Because when you're educating a model and you're directing them, you're essentially telling them how they should pose and why.
Right.
Why it looks good.
But my disagreement in that is that you're directing only to one thing. When you're educating, I'm sitting here saying, okay, the reason this light is falling off your back and I'm actually pointing it not at you, now that has nothing to do with directing the model.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so when you actually fill them in, that 5 minutes of filling them in and letting them know about that.
But do they really need to know about all that?
You know what? It's not. Knowledge is key, bro. I mean,
if I'm directing a model, I don't need to understand. I don't need her to understand. You know, I need to go down 4 stops and move this light because
no. I'm not doing not that technical.
Okay.
I'm just saying in regards to like reading body language. Because if you still have them uptight, if they're still nervous, if they're still awkward in the situation, even though your directing is great, you're getting the poses that you want, but it's just that little glimmer in the eye that's literally a millimeter in editing. You know what I mean? Now, all of a sudden, you continue the conversation, but you kind of go the side roads a little bit to make them a little more comfortable with everything that's going on, not just how you want to pose them. Because then what the end result is they actually leave and they feel more buddy, if you will. You know what I mean? It's like, wow, he talked to me about stuff I never was talked to about before, and I never knew that, or, whatever. And I have models that, I send videos about, about lighting and stuff. You want to learn how to get rid of this under your eye. You want to learn how to do this, because you have models that some, their facial features or whatever there are things that, every time you're going to shoot with that model, you got to go to post, and that's the first thing you go to edit. Mm-hmm. But there's ways to compensate or actually make up for that. So then they show up and it's not there.
Yeah.
So then your in-camera result is a lot better and less post editing.
Now, Speaking to that, you're a multifaceted person, right? Is that the word you used when you texted me?
I think
Multifaceted?
I think I have 3 faucets in my place.
So it's
yes.
photography, it's DJing, and it's drone video, right?
Yes.
Okay. Let's talk about branding purposes.
Okay.
How do you brand? Because this is one of the issues that I've kind of come up with is do I post my video work and my photography on the same page?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like on my same Instagram, or do I brand it the same way?
Right.
What are your thoughts when it comes to having so many different faceted so many different outlooks, or of the creativity? How do you market that? How do you brand that?
I don't think I'm at the point right now where I care.
Really?
And the only reason is because I'm focusing on the art. I'm focusing on the technique. So no matter what I use to capture something, I'm focusing on the best way to use that to capture something. You know what I mean? So it's like when, people have told me my feed's all over the place. One minute you're posting this, next minute it's a drone shot, next minute it's this, all of a sudden it's a piece of food. You know what I mean? Like all these.
Do you post that to your personal? Because I don't think I've ever seen.
No. I've gone through my feed multiple times and deleted stuff. I'll post it and then I'll be like, okay, but if people are using, like, if I do 3 portraits, then all of a sudden it's sushi.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then I get like
Yeah.
23 likes, which by no means, delegates anything in regards to the post. But at the same time, I'm kind of going, that's some dope looking sushi. Why do I only get 23 likes? Y'all need to come to this restaurant and try this shit.
Keep that on the Insta story.
You know what I mean? No. And so as stories start to build up and stuff like that, that's great because that's the more personal side of you. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
You can personalize because the detachment people have when it comes to a feed is a still image. You know what I mean? So there's no personality to the image. It's the model, it's the mood, it's the edit, it's the aesthetic. But when it comes to knowing you know what I mean? There's a lot of people we know there's a lot of photographers I know just by their name, but not by their legal name. Mm-hmm. So when I go and I see them, I'm like, oh, hey, what's up? You're blah, 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 blah. And they're like, yeah, my name's John, and I'm going, huh. How the hell did you come up with that name then? Because John doesn't, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And I would, and everybody that you're in my phone, Chuck, I know Chuck is Chuck, but you're in my phone, and I met you as Cmyk.
Yeah.
At Cmyk. So that's how you're in my phone.
Ooh,
is that wrong? Is that wrong?
I don't know. It's all people always say either Cmyk or Cmybara. I've heard Ibara.
I say Ibara, so it's all good.
Oh.
I like when people call me Cmyk.
So anyway, back to what we were talking about, which is
well,
I literally just threw up in my mouth a little bit. So
the reason I asked that question, Andrew, is because I noticed you have 3 different pages. You have one for your, Ariel.
Yes.
Andrew Ariel.
And it was an areola.
Andrew's areolas. No, you have one for your photography page, and you have one for
we went from teddy bear to areolas, bro. I don't even know where this is going right now. Why did I come here?
It's been a roller coaster of emotions, I feel.
What are we talking about? We're food, what do you call it?
Yeah.
Deprived.
Can I just actually go back on something? Like, so you've been DJing for how long? I know this is off.
On the DJing side, 83.
You started DJing in
83? You were born?
83. No, 83.
He's trying to be nice, bro.
Yeah.
Damn. So,
yeah, you are being nice. Thank you.
Wait, was that while you were in Europe?
Yes.
And,
no, actually, yes, it was actually. Yeah.
You were doing clubs, or what were you doing out there?
Yeah.
Wow, that's fucking crazy.
Yeah,
you were straight vinyl man.
No, I was doing like, just to give you an example, one of the clubs that I had a residency at, if you remember Shaggy, right? Mm-hmm. The artist, Shaggy. He was in the Army. And he used to come in the club all the time.
What the fuck?
And he would get, when he was still in the Army, before Boombastic and like all that stuff came out, he would come in and get on the mic all the time. And just play around and just,
But he was a nobody back then.
He would talk normal, and then all of a sudden you give the mic to him, and it's, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
out of nowhere, I'm just like, yo, you're
Wait, so
dope.
what were you playing back then? Like, what type of music was
good music? Let's get started on that, shall we? That's a whole nother podcast.
Well, know, like, was it house, techno? Because, like, I don't know what the scene was back then.
Like, back
then? Euro dance?
No. I never went that route. You
stayed hip-hop all
Yeah, I didn't
long.
do, like, KLF and, like, Enigma and, Ace of Base or whoever they are or, all that stuff, back in the day. And then back in the day, just to just show you, I remember when Snap I Got the Power came out, or Power, right? And so Turbo was also in the Army, and he used to come in and beatbox on the mic, and I would cut while he was beatboxing. And we would just sit there and just, for like 5 minutes, and then I'd mix the next song. And so you're talking about like, like Ralph Tresvant, BBD, jeez, man. I can't even remember now.
To be honest, not even hip hop wasn't really a big thing back then either. You said 83?
No, hip hop wasn't. No. I wasn't in the clubs in '83, dude. I was a kid.
Oh,
No.
What?
No.
I was like,
I was in the clubs
you're
in
old.
'80s. I was in '87, '88 was when I was in the club. So now you're talking about like Poison and
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Now
stuff
it makes
like
sense. That makes sense for sure. Okay.
And what was it? I can't even remember. Wow.
Is there anything about your DJing that kind of like has helped you out in every other aspect of your creativity? Like,
Yeah.
Are there any skills that you?
Yeah, because when it comes to music, it gives you emotion. You know what I mean? You listen to music, you feel something.
We're getting deep.
And say what?
We're getting deep.
Oh.
Say what?
No, but I mean, you feel something,
Yeah.
Like when you post stories, when you're editing, you got some music playing, and all of a sudden you see screen caps of the stuff that you're playing, and I'm just sitting there going, I'm not looking that up. So then I would go to, I did graffiti back in, just to show you, in high school and middle school, high school. This is back when like Cross Colors, Carl Kanai, like all that stuff was out, right? And like the urban culture was huge,
You were
when it came
breakdancing too, probably.
I was breakdancing, did graffiti,
You were breakdancing?
all that stuff. did
Anybody who
graffiti.
does graffiti and listens to hip hop probably
Yeah.
does breakdancing as well back in the day.
Did you ever do breakdancing?
Yes, I did. I'm Asian too, bro. So
But all
of
Asians
Asian
break dance,
people.
dude. We
All
break dance
Asians?
with chopsticks, bro. Look, no normal person knows how to use chopsticks. If you don't break dance and you don't use that hand, then everybody else has to get the rubber band little attachment thing that helps you out. And then you see the food like flick over like 3 people at the bar and stuff. We got completely sidetracked. But anyway, back to like.
I was gonna take that conversation somewhere completely.
No, I'm just
They got
hungry,
you.
bro.
You called it out.
No, when it came to like the music and when it came to DJing and all that stuff, I used to do graffiti on jeans. And so there was a time period, if you look like old TLC videos, What About Your Friends, and like, all that
Overalls
stuff.
and shit.
The overalls and stuff. I used to paint and I used to do graffiti on overalls and sell them.
That's
You know,
tight.
people would buy like the Levi jean jacket and the pants and stuff, and I'd do the airbrushing, or I would do not as extreme as and dope as your boy, but I used to actually paint.
Yeah.
And so it was.
You
talking
probably
about
had
Jonathan?
he was.
Okay.
You probably had the flip sun visor, with the open top.
Jeez.
You did that.
No, I
shit,
actually
huh?
had Kangos.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
You
I actually
lost
had
me, bro. I had no idea what that
Kangos,
is.
yeah. Kangos.
What's Kangos?
And I bought a Kango because of Kango from UTFO. So if you ever remember the group UTFO, see, I can go way back.
There's an audio note to Keem when you're listening back to the podcast. Look up Kangos. Because you don't know what that is. Remember this,
It's
bro.
Kangol. It's a hat. They still sell them. Yeah. It's old school. Actually, you know what? There's a couple hats that you would sport.
Nah,
There are.
I would.
Yeah.
Maybe not right now because
Bro,
I got like a little
no,
hair
That's
going.
crazy. You should start like rocking shit from back in the 90s, and I bet the shit would get hot.
Yo,
like
we
real
need
quick.
sponsors.
Yeah, just,
sponsors?
If that company's still around.
just don't do the rayon shirts with the with the jabot or what is it?
Jenko jeans.
No, Jenko didn't go that far back.
Yeah, it's like
Not until
99.
Yeah, that was 90. That was the
Hot Topic days.
Yeah.
Tight.
Oh
no, but I wanted to ask too about like cutting and all that. Like, who was at that time? Jazzy Jeff and all that? Was he one of the ones?
Mm-hmm.
that you
He's the
went, like,
DJ.
cutting?
I'm the rapper. The
Yeah.
guys that I was influenced by back then were like DJ David, who was the DMC champion in Germany.
How long has DMC been going on for?
Oh, I have no idea. You're talking. This is photography and.
Nah,
stuff. I
bro.
have no
This
idea
is
about-
everything. This is the morning
No.
dinner. We talking
No,
about
but
everything.
Y'all
no.
know Will Smith started a YouTube channel?
We're going.
I just subscribed this morning, bro. He does vlogs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I seen it on Casey Neistat shit.
His
Yeah,
stuff
well,
is,
yeah.
But his stuff is dope. I want to know
No.
who his editor is.
So check this out. I was watching this video where he's sitting down and he's talking about how he became the Fresh Prince and all that stuff. And I'm
Yeah.
listening to I'm like, damn, dude, like he's lit. Like it just goes back to like reassure me like how big of a platform the internet is. You know what I mean? And how big, like, you look at like the Joe Rogan podcast or the H3H3 podcast, and how they get so much attention versus what the mainstream television gets now.
Right.
That you have no choice but to go directly to your audience, right?
Well, you know, to caveat that is now, like everybody with social media, you should do lives.
Yeah.
So many people are shy, you know, in front of the camera. That's
How often
fine.
do you go live?
You don't, huh?
How often do you go live?
Every majority of the time when I shoot, I try to, you know, and I'm not a stickler for not having you know what my settings are. You know what I mean? So it's like I will shoot just because I'll get people ask me questions. Yo, like, why is your ISO so high and how are you? You know what I mean? And I'll be like, oh, because of this. And then they'll go, oh, and then I'll be like, and I shoot Sony.
So how do you feel about people getting, okay, because like, you know, like let's just say you've been doing this for a shit ton and you're getting paid a lot of money and you've been doing it for 15 years and somebody copies your light setup, right? Would you be mad, or do you think it's always going to turn out different?
We all copy people's light setups.
Yeah, there's no way to
diagram.
There's no new way of lighting anything.
No
everything
new
has
way.
everything has. This is how you know nothing.
Not
Chuck.
unless you have
Yeah.
like a helicopter and you put an LED panel on the top of it and you fly it over like a parking lot, and then you just wait for the light to hit the model and you take the picture and go, I lit that with a helicopter. You know what I mean?
I'm just saying it from a standpoint where I've known people who are very, like you said, it's a competitive market, and people think like, oh, if he learns my settings, if he learns my lighting, he's gonna basically beat me out, which I think is completely false.
Well,
but I know a lot of people who think like that for sure.
The problem with that is stagnant when you stay in one place. If you find something, if you find your niche, that's perfectly fine, but evolve on that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
exactly.
don't sit there and go, oh, I found it, and then you just stick in it. There's photographers, there's influencers out there that a lot of people will. I don't even know why you're smiling. I don't want to know why you're smiling. But there are a lot of people out there who get in that rut, and then they get known for that. That's perfectly fine. And then here comes all the bandwagon people, and they start doing all that same style, and then every single, you know, feature page or whatever has nothing but that style or that, you know. And it's literally, you know, every now and then you kind of like need to back up and unfollow and just.
You want to know what I can't stand real quick, man?
Uh-oh.
I can't. This is a little Keem rant. I'm gonna have a Keem rant. What I can't stand is when people hoard locations.
Like
You know
they
what I
don't
mean?
tell you where the location
like,
is.
Yeah, I mean, look. So somebody will find like a dope location.
Right.
They'll do a cool little photo shoot.
Right.
Images are cool.
Right.
And then you ask them like, "Yo, where did you shoot that? I would love to kind of see what I can do with that." Right.
Right.
And then they're like, "Oh, actually, I don't. You know, that's kind of my own location." I've known a couple photographers to do that, and I can't stand that, bro.
And that's
Because
when
if-
you call Mother Earth on the hotline. And you go, Mother Earth, I just want to know if this person, you can find them at this IG address. Did they buy this area?
Yeah.
Do they have a license for this area?
It comes down to if I, you know, I don't want to give you my location because that's my trademark. Like, no, dude. Like, if I found a dope location and I did a photo shoot and then somebody asked me, yo, where did you shoot that? I want to shoot there. I'll gladly give you the location, and I'll tell you why too. I'll give you that location because I want to see if you can do a better job.
See, but a lot of people don't think like that. A lot of people are afraid.
It's not about seeing if you can do a better job.
It's
Let me
competition.
see what you can create. No,
Yeah,
no, no.
well, you know,
It's
yeah,
not about,
okay,
It's not
okay.
about, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and
that's exactly.
Keem was just in the rant.
I was just in a rant, yeah.
and that's fine. But that's the
I'm
thing
speaking
about
ignorant.
it is
I'm speaking ignorant, man.
that's fine though, because you know a lot of the times when it comes to doing that, you know, you want to, for the locations, no one's going to shoot the same shot.
Yeah.
The light's going to be different every single, you know what I mean? So here's the location, go have fun. Because they probably don't have the same common knowledge or technical knowledge you do in regards to ISO or shutter or aperture, or I'm gonna go there for a split second. They shoot Canon or Nikon.
Yeah.
So when it comes to
This video was not sponsored by Sony, guys.
we won't talk about what you're filming with, but
All Sony.
thank you very much.
Yeah.
But when it comes to that, you know, it's not going to be the exact same picture as everybody else.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, I preach this all day, man. Like
It's petty.
I can go ahead and look at a photo on Pinterest and try to recreate it. 9 times out of 10, it does not come out the
Nope.
same. There's
Nope.
almost no way.
Nope.
And you and I have done this where we've looked at an image and we've challenged ourselves to recreate it,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't know how they created that image. You know, like they could have had a completely different situation, maybe not even using studio lights. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And I mean,
It could have
ultimately
been a
it comes
consistent light with a couple of bounce cards, and we're sitting
Yeah.
there going, okay, we're going to put this up here, we're going to do
Yeah.
this over here, and we're going to do this.
Well,
and
because
then-
the thing is it's not even how you shoot it. It's how you light it, how you shoot it, how you prepare for it, how you process it in post production. All that comes into play. And that's one thing I do like about photography is how no one will ever be able to exactly replicate your style 100% because it's always going to be different. You know what I mean? So I mean, if we're talking about trends, you know, people can go ahead and try to do the, like you said, the string lights, the neon colors. I think it's all fun, in my
Well, see,
opinion.
that's why I went into like the drone area. You know what I mean?
Well, let's
And
talk
so,
about that.
You know, I went into the drone area because not too many people could get that perspective. People don't look at. They always ask me all the time. So how'd you shoot that? All it is a camera with propellers on it. So how do you shoot with a camera? Because if you're dope and you shoot with a camera, mind you can't throw an 85 on there or 7200. Thing's not going to take off. But if you already know what your aperture is and you know what, so the Mavic has a 24 millimeter and it's 2.8, okay, 24 millimeter, 2.8. I can achieve, X, Y, and Z with this. I know what my limitations are, you know what I mean? And that's where you start from. That's your starting point. That's your launch pad. So like with some of the shots, some of the portraits I did from aerial aspect, shooting straight down,
Yeah.
it's shadow play and it's lighting. So I would just wait until the sun got to a certain point because now here I have a long shadow. And then also the let's say the basketball post or, whatever has a long shadow. Now it's creating these lines. Then you put the model in the middle. Now notice I said that last
Yeah.
because I'm looking at the frame. Then you put the model in the middle and then you make them part of that. And then, and then people are like, well, man, how you do that?
That's super interesting how you use a drone to take photos because we've had a drone for 3 years now.
Pretty long time.
We've only used it ever
For
for video,
Mm-hmm.
and we've never I know there's a button on there that you can use to snap photos,
There's
but
a
I never
button
once
on there
snap
to use to snap photos.
photos. Yeah. What did I say something wrong,
No, it's
Andrew?
no.
Damn, like
Oh, hold on a second.
Damn, you might want to back off the microphone, Chuck. You just
Sorry.
popped like
I'm
about to
saying
go deaf up in here.
it's probably clearing his nose. So no, you didn't say anything wrong, but that's the mentality.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a button there for me to take pictures.
Yeah.
Well, take pictures. You know what I mean? It's like with the panoramics that I do, like the one of San Francisco, right? With all the piers and everything. That's 19 images. Sitting out at Alcatraz, looking back at San Francisco
Yeah.
with both bridges in the frame and just sitting there and being patient and going, click, click, click. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And,
Dude, I've flown my drone over like military bases.
okay.
I've flown it on the Strip.
Just kidding. He never did.
Allegedly.
anything like that.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Allegedly.
It depends on what strip, though. It could have been a strip of pavement. It could have been
Yeah,
a strip.
true,
It was on
true.
the Las Vegas Boulevard Strip. Allegedly.
You're supposed to put allegedly before
Allegedly.
the alleged statement.
Allegedly on the Las Vegas Boulevard Strip.
Oh, man. I remember when you could do that, but you can't do it now.
No,
But,
they have a GPS. They disabled.
yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of sad.
Well, the thing that's unfortunate, though, a lot of people don't understand. They're like, oh, why can't, 80% of the city's non-flyable, But it's like,
Like, duh.
if you, well, why? Is because the location.
Al
of the
Qaeda.
You went from allegedly to, dude. I'm like,
We're just
okay,
messing
you
with
know
you,
what?
man.
I think the sushi restaurant closes. No, I'm just kidding. So, no, the reason is because of the location of the airport. That's the thing that really, like, the people that are really passionate about dronography or dronature.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Ooh, I think I just made one up.
Yeah.
I like
Hashtag.
that.
That's your new hashtag right there.
So,
Terrible.
is the fact that thank you. I couldn't think of a comeback quick enough. Darn it. Hopefully my eyes showed it. No, so the location of the airport is the main thing because you have a 5-mile radius. It's a no-fly zone. And so that includes Cosmo, that includes MGM, that includes Mandalay Bay, that includes like all the, all the ones that are colorful that you want to get. Because if you go past that, you have Caesars. But then who really cares about the Venetian or, aesthetically, as far as like the lights and stuff like that. So, and then the other thing too is if you noticed all the heights of the buildings in Las Vegas or on the Strip go to a certain point for the simple fact that they don't want it to cross into the flight paths of the actual planes. So if you ever watch planes land and take off, then not saying that I have better stuff to do, but allegedly. I have allegedly. But nice. The flight patterns and everything of the planes is what also creates the no-fly zones too. Because you don't want to get in the way of a plane. Because
I always see those the touring, the helicopters all the time, and I'm like, ooh, I don't want to hit. But there has to be a way you can fly if you call in, right? You think if you probably called in and really
if you're commercially licensed and you contact if you contact McCarran's tower and you put a request in and then you tell them this is what because a lot of people don't realize all you have to do is simply say, okay, I plan on flying from this time to this time at this height.
Yeah.
Just so they know they're not going to be in that
then they
area.
can tell you, okay, they can look at their flight pattern. They know what planes are coming in. They know when flights are taking off, all that kind of stuff.
I guess we'll reroute that airplane from Malaysia, basically, right?
Man, you are just on one today, aren't you?
He's just lost it at the end.
I want to start some shiz tonight, bro.
Dude, it's like a bad episode of CNN. The
Too much Alex Jones. No, just play it.
No, so that's what a lot of people don't get.
Alex Jones.
No, I know I'm not gonna do it. I know you're trying to get a reaction, bro.
Sorry.
Fill me in here because I'm just like the guy.
No, you know how you can't hear it on you don't have headphones on, so you won't be able to tell. But because of the compressor that we have now, whenever we talk, like the sound gets quiet immediately after you talk, and it sounds just like Alex Jones. And I do this impersonation of him.
It's pretty bad. You heard it. You heard it at the beginning.
Yeah.
No.
It's not that bad.
Oh my god. It's not that bad.
I think you're tripping.
Don't be cocky, bro.
Anyways, bro, we're completely off topic.
Yeah, sorry.
You were saying
that is not my fault.
No, I didn't say it was your fault, Andrew.
Jeez, you stop looking at the CNN feed right now while you're.
I'm not looking at CNN.
I know.
Talking about Bitcoin now.
Oh, here we go.
I feel like, dude, you know what is funny is like in every episode I've always like
I always mention
it. I'm gonna someone's gonna make a compilation of every single episode. Now let's talk about Bitcoin.
Someone, you pointed at me. You got to do something on this podcast, bro.
Damn.
Wow.
Deep, right?
Who's wearing the bright shirt in the family though?
I know. He is the head.
I like that.
Headmaster.
I like that one. You said headmaster. Anyways, back to what you were talking about, man.
What were we talking about?
No, but a lot of people don't understand that. So, the jumping to conclusions and stuff about that, it's like, oh, you're not allowed to fly here. You can't fly that high. Or you can't, there's a lot of things that people don't know.
Why don't you get are you certified?
Not yet.
Are you going soon?
Yes.
I'm definitely trying to do that soon, too.
Yeah.
Next 3 months. Is it pretty difficult learning, like, all the information that they want you to...
Not really. I have friends that have taken the test, and they said like 67% of the test is like stuff that has to do with planes.
Yeah.
So the big argument in the hobbyist community is like, why do we need to know what the freezing point of dew on a wing at 20,000 feet have to do with anything?
Yeah, the
now
laws,
that's just what I've heard. I don't know if that's...
The laws are a little weird, man, because they actually have courses for it at CSN.
Yeah.
Which is weird. I'm like, this should be something that I... go on DJI's website and schedule. It should be like an Apple store for this stuff.
But does that make you that much closer to getting like an actual pilot's license? Meaning like you can probably learn how to fly
I have
a
a couple friends that are pilots, that are actual pilots, and they're in the private sector, and they only had to answer, I think, like 20 questions or something like that.
That doesn't make any sense.
And they've like aced all of them. You know what I mean? It's like, because it just has to, the difference between UAV and
you're flying an actual plane. That's
but you have more experience because altitude bearings, all those different kind of things and stuff high. And so I don't know.
Smacking dust out the air.
Amelia Earhart should have taken a course.
Man, you are on one today.
Has your 360 camera been recording this whole time?
No, it actually shut off.
I heard.
Soon as
you want to back off that microphone real quick?
Soon as you started.
For me, my bad.
Andrew, I think you set his microphone to be super loud, So when he gets up to it,
Hey, Keem, you know what's a beautiful thing?
What?
The soundboard's like right near your knees, and if you can just
oh yeah,
his
huh?
mic down.
Well, which channel is he?
Shit, I forgot.
It's just,
Okay, so anyway,
easier
where's
to
my
have
where's my sweet spot? Like right here?
you're good right there. Just don't
Okay,
yell.
cool. I'll just
Just don't.
There you go. There you go. You got Andrew the
They
mime
start
on.
dubbing his voice like an Asian dubbed movie.
coming from an Asian.
No, it's not a racist thing. It's just funny. 'Cause you know how it's always.
I'd
off sync.
understand if like Keem was like, we make it like
Yeah.
What?
what's the guy's name? I forgot the guy's name. I can't remember the movie either. Okay,
Talking
forget
about Kung
that.
Pao.
Delete.
Kung Pao the movie.
No, not Kung Pao the movie.
Oh,
This is all going on everything. So we
Where-
can't delete shit. We
where-
can't rewind
where
shit.
is-
it's out there, bro.
Man,
It's out there.
Sorry, y'all. It's no AC in the house. We're just getting cooked up
I
right now.
really want to take a sip of this water,
No, do it, man.
but
Go for it. Go
sure.
for it.
I don't
Yeah,
want
yeah,
to sit here and all of a sudden you hear.
That's fine.
yeah. Well,
It's fine.
one last thing I wanted to talk about, actually, guys, and I want to get your guys' opinion on it. Why are you doing the sound effects for that, bro?
That wasn't me,
Jeez.
bro.
All right. Before we close this out, I want to do kind of like we'll have one last question for you. Are you currently working on anything? Are you working on anything or working towards anything? Because I know from personal experience with you, you're kind of like big out here in the Vegas community. You're all about bringing people together, and just like you did with the sweet shoots. And I know you've worked with like I don't know if it was the Insta meets or the Vibe meetups or whatever it was.
Shooters.
Right, the 6 shooters. Is there anything you're currently working towards to kind of like in that direction?
No,
Boom. Question answered.
No. Last thing too. Like I like
no, and the only
oh.
reason I say that is because
Fuck me.
it's
Oh, Andrew.
I was on Chuck, bro. What was it that you said? Chuck, what was it that you said?
Because I was about to say something, you just started talking again. I said, "Oh, fuck me, right?" Sorry, bro. Oh shit.
That's
My
happened
bad.
multiple, that's what happened every time me and him get in a conversation, and I'll start talking over him. Oh, okay.
Fuck me, right? All right, my bad, Andrew.
What was the question you had for him, or was he already
No,
answered?
I was gonna say that last thing you always say too, but complete what you were gonna say.
Yeah.
Something about like
Completed, Andrew.
completely piece of shit.
Golly.
you all right, bro?
Conversation.
You're
He's
like
about to
crying.
pass- He's about to pass out over there. We really
In
need
my
an AC
eyes,
unit.
bro. It's salt.
If we can get sponsored by an AC unit company, that'd be great.
Or fans.
Or no, because
Let's
fans.
go get the little desk fan. Well, yeah, it blows around. It's
Yeah.
just not really. Yeah.
Or like ice vest that we could put in the fridge and just like wear them. I know it's stupid as fuck.
We're gonna look like who the two guys from Saturday Night Live.
SWAT
We're gonna
team.
pump you up. You know, the two guys with the big. You know what I'm talking
No.
about?
Is that a show back in 1982?
Well played.
All right, closing remarks. Do you have any advice for any new shooters out there that you want to kind of help guide them in? I know you're a big Sony advocate, big Rotolight, advocate. Soon to be. And
I don't
father?
know.
I'm putting that out there. Andrew's gonna be a ambassador for Rotolight,
I'd love to.
and the next time he comes on here, he's gonna be one already.
I'd love to.
And he's gonna get us a sponsor and a lot of money.
Boom.
So the answer is
I'm trying to figure out where I'm supposed to answer something here.
You can look at me. You can look at Chuck. You can look at your camera. You can look at your 360 camera, but it's not on.
It's gonna be some good 360. I'll actually send that to you so you guys can post it.
the
Yeah,
beginning.
in our 2D video.
Damn, you fucking one upping us. But do you have something for the kids out there, bro?
What you trying to say? No, I'm just kidding. For the kids out there,
Oops.
Well,
I mean, everybody's the
Damn.
kids to you, bro.
that's what I was getting.
Aren't you like 50?
Damn.
No way.
Yo, you agreed to be on here, bro. You agreed. You knew.
somebody's paying
knew?
for my meal.
You knew Chuck.
Sorry, dog. I didn't mean it
Yeah.
like that. I was just like, yeah, that's fucked. My bad. For the kid.
Take it away.
when it comes to paying attention or like learning, like
Yeah.
all the new people,
Yeah.
don't care what other people thinks. It's so easy to say that, you know what I mean? But then it also it depends on the demographic, it depends on the age group, it depends on peer pressure, it depends on your community, it depends on the people you surround yourself with. Stop surrounding yourself with people that you feel need to lift you up in an ego way. Constantly, oh, you girl, you look good. Oh my God, you look so great. Oh my, you know, da 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 da. You know, be the better self of yourself. You know, and constantly, education is key. You know, knowledge is power. I mean, it literally is. I'm not trying to go into that direction, but as far as that's concerned, the more you know about, so many people don't know about their camera, and Sonys are intimidating. You know what I mean? Canons, and Nikon and stuff like that. There's a whole bunch of buttons. You get into a cockpit. Stop smiling. I'm trying to be serious. If you get into a cockpit of a plane, there's a whole bunch of buttons and everything, but that one where you could just go, whoop, that moves the damn plane.
Right.
It's the same mentality when it comes to photography. That button up top, press it. See what happens. You don't like it, figure out how to change it, and just constantly better yourself. Challenge yourself. Don't do the same thing that everybody else does. If you do, don't post it. If you do, that's your choice, by all means. No disrespect. But at the same time, find that middle point.
What?
You gotta stop laughing, bro, because I
Bro,
was
just
was concentrated
smile,
on what he
man.
was
Why are you
saying,
looking at
and
me,
then you
dog?
started laughing.
I
and then
didn't laugh. I was just smiling. Like, what the fuck?
I saw you out of my peripherals.
I was just laughing because he said, never mind. Just keep going.
What'd I say?
I kind of forgot what you said, but it made me smile.
He said, "Don't care about what anybody else is doing. What you essentially said was, don't listen to my advice, because at the end of the day, you're gonna do what you're gonna do, but learn."
And don't copy people.
Pretty much.
There we go.
Learn your camera.
That's
if you're gonna spend money, people walk around and I know a couple photographers that rented lenses, to show up at places and look like they were like the coolest people on the block.
Yeah, where they do that at?
Like
I want to know.
Like it's like, okay, so you put a 70-200 on a crop sensor lens. That's a full frame lens on a crop sensor. Show up to a location that the farthest away from a model you will get is 4 feet.
Yeah.
Are you doing like plastic surgery pictures and you're showing how the nose was fixed? Or are you doing like, what are you taking pictures of 70-200 at 4 feet away?
Yeah.
Versus, actually getting the nifty 50, if you will, or a 35, or, when I bought the 28 that I have, I had people that were like, why'd you buy a 28? I'm like, it's an F2. And they're like, why'd you buy a 28? I'm like, it's an F2. So then that way, if I wanted a lot for me, if I wanted a lot in the frame, which is more than a 35, right? Then I can still get in and get a nice little soft, background and stuff like that. So, and then plus I'm also the person who doesn't go and buy the 24-70, go to buy the 70-200, I want to find that odd lens, that, and then try to make stuff work out of it, you know, which then you're forcing yourself to think outside the box of 24 or, 35 and that's perfectly fine. There's a reason those work, but
Yeah, I've done that before. Like challenged myself, like just use like a 1 millimeter or what is it called?
One focal length.
Sorry.
I would love. Wait,
But
what?
I just took my 85 with me, and I'm only using my 85
Yeah.
tonight. And then it kind of it does challenge you for
Yeah,
sure, but
yeah.
you learn how to you can actually use it in this manner. And
Chuck is more speaking towards because he shoots a lot of recurring events where it's always like the same event or the same kind of style, and he's forced to kind of make it different every single time. So what he'll do is he'll take one focal length with him, or he'll do something where like, okay, I can only shoot at this lens at this f-stop, or I can only shoot at this ISO, cannot go above it, right? And he'll kind of like force himself to challenge himself
Yep.
to do something different.
Yep.
because
every
it
single time.
spices things up, you know what I mean, and it actually makes you, what is it like? It's critical thinking. Mm-hmm. So you're actually using a lot more. Like it took me a while to figure out when in video, like to use that depth. Like like having like panning like from this, like you can just pan, it's cool, but if you have something in the frame, it makes, I don't know, it
In the
adds a little bit
foreground?
more. Yeah, in
in
the
focus,
foreground.
and then you go to the whatever the
Not
background
even
is.
in focus, just have it in there. You know what I mean?
Oh,
it
yeah,
gives
yeah,
it
yeah.
something.
Oh, so you're
It
saying
gives
you're
it
talking about
depth.
using depth or dimension
Mhm.
in your frame. Yeah, yeah.
It's
Easily.
like I've learned a lot just by like trying new things and just. But it's also been, I can't even lie, like some nights like I forget lenses and I'm like, damn, I don't have the right lenses, and then I'm like, I just
Or they
got this
break.
tonight. Nah, that's never happened.
Ooh.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
but I mean,
bro.
it's one of those things where you have to challenge yourself.
Mhm.
You know, shoot portraiture, with a 28. They're gonna be like, wait, what? Huh? Like, where do I put them in the frame?
Yeah.
Because there's so much headspace.
It's so much.
And it's like, okay, then you get closer.
Yeah.
There's this lens that I still have that I got with the NEX5, the Sony NEX5, and it's a 16 millimeter 2.8.
Fisheye, basically.
No. And so it's what they call the pancake lens.
Mhm.
And that lens still to this day, and I got this camera 7 years ago, that lens still to this day is $250. And I never understood why that lens was still why it was $250. As I started to learn lenses and as I started to learn focal lengths, I go, oh, damn. It's a 16 2.8. That makes sense because that's like a landscape lens. That's an architecture lens. That's you know what I mean? You get so much in
Dang,
the frame.
that's pretty cheap. Is that a crop sensor or is that a full frame
Crop
lens?
sensor. It's crop
Okay.
sensor, yeah. The
Is that
pancake lens for the NAX5. So it would work on the 6300. It would work on, like
6500. I have a 14 2.8. That
Yeah.
guy I got was $600.
Yeah.
But the
That's
14,
crazy.
Yeah, but the 14's a little odd, though. 16's a little more common.
Well,
It's kind of like the 10 to, what is that, the 10 to 12 I think they just came out with?
which one? From which company?
Sony.
Sony 10 to 12.
It's like a 10 to 12
That's
or 10,
10 to 14.
Weird ass
10 to
fool.
something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
10 to 10. Yeah.
You're like on a safari in Africa and you're trying to get everything,
One of the persons that I kind of noticed is one of my favorite portrait photographers, is Jessica Kobasi, and she does a lot of her portraiture with a wider angle, which is weird. You know what I mean? Like to me,
Yeah,
because I'm used to shooting portraiture on a 50, 85, 105.
She's a sweetheart, yeah. She's freaking dope.
Yeah. But when I saw her using the wide, I'm like, oh, you're able to include a lot more into your frame, and that's something that I didn't really notice I could do until I started seeing her work.
It's the whole tripod mentality. You think the minute you lift the camera up, all of a sudden you have to stop and stay where you are to take the picture. And so many people don't step back 2 steps or step forward 2 steps
Yeah.
because now all of a sudden then the lens makes sense, especially if it's something that's odd. I've given people my 14 2.8 Rokinon and then they see the bending and like all that stuff and they go, you know what I mean? And I'm like, stop thinking portraiture. Because if you put the person's face in the middle, it's going to be like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Shoot architecture. You're going to get this to this. There's a forum shop shot that I did that I literally was sitting on the floor, almost laying down, and I had the lens to where in the bottom of the frame, it was where the fountain is, and the top of the frame was like above me, and it got all in one picture. I mean, all in one shot. So it's just knowing how to find the weak. And they say, which I still haven't found yet, but I don't know. You guys are a little more technical. But every lens has its sweet spot. Every lens has a sweet spot, and I haven't researched that because I think that's just a little too.
Are you talking about in regards to like distance
Focus?
from distance?
And I'm saying in regards to like the lens creates the best image at that point. So if it's a focus ring and you turn it to a certain point, right there is because every lens, even though they look the same, everything that's inside, it could be millimeters off, or it could be the cut, or it could be, whatever.
Yeah.
It could be anything. And it literally would have.
Yeah, that's pretty deep. I never
Unless
even
you're the
thought of
Sony 18 to 105 lens, then you're just trash. That lens is trash, bro.
that. Bro.
I don't know if you have you used it before.
Are we doing a bashing side to the live too? Because
Just that no, everything else Sony makes is great.
Is that the one you
lens,
got?
Yeah, bro.
Oh, it's so soft. I hope it's just not broken. I hope it's just the lens. But
damn,
No.
he sounds like it's a injured
soft.
animal.
It's a personal
no,
thing.
I'm saying him. He's like,
Oh.
oh,
you
it's
see how
okay.
mad he is right now? Like,
It's
Yeah.
okay. It's
no
like
joke,
it's
bro.
soft.
That's why I bought
It's-
the 24 to 70 G Master. I finally figured out that lens right there. Boom, looking right at me. Yeah, beautiful lens. Beautiful.
Finally.
Real quick,
It took you a minute to get that through your head, though.
Hey, real quick.
'Cause
what's your
remember you
favorite
were
lens?
It
saying
was just
that-
that first week.
Huh?
It was just that first week I was frustrated.
Oh, I know, yeah.
Yeah, and it was because I was shooting low light.
What's your
Yeah.
favorite lens? Last question. Or I don't know how many more questions. we have.
What scenario?
Um,
All around?
all around.
My
all
50,
around.
my Zeiss 55-1.8.
Hey, that's Chuck's favorite lens too.
Yeah. And it's your favorite lens too, dog.
Yeah.
My favorite is the 24-70 now.
It's your favorite lens. and it's
My
the
favorite
lens you broke.
prime is the 55-1.8.
yeah.
50 what?
My favorite prime is the 55-1.8.
You know
Yeah.
the lens I still want to get, even though they've made a better version of it, is the Batis. Hold on a second.
No.
The Batis 81 point. The Batis 85 1.4.
Yeah,
That's a dope lens. A lot of people don't know Zeiss
Sony?
is.
Or Zeiss?
No, Batis.
yeah,
Zeiss.
Batis?
yeah, but it's a
Batis.
Sony mount. It's a Sony
Yeah.
mount.
Oh,
Sony
got it,
mount,
got it.
Yeah.
So you know I don't know shit.
I don't know. I think I saw Jason Lanier do a comparison of that one and the regular
85 1.8.
85 1.8.
Yeah.
Personally, I didn't see it that
Well,
big
you go
of a
1.4 to
difference.
1.8. No, it's
Yeah.
actually no. It is a 1.8. No, never mind. It
It's
is
a 1.8. Yeah, I don't think it's a 1.4.
But they heard.
But it's like an extra $1,000.
because it's ice glass. Excuse me.
Yeah, I think the 55-1.8 is the must-have Zeiss lens.
A lot of the times when it comes to Zeiss too, or when it comes to those type of glass like your L lenses on Canon and stuff like that people use on their Sony bodies, you have to also think of the platform that you shoot for.
Yeah.
So it's like if you're gonna, like we all have A7R2s, you know what I mean, and we're shooting portraiture with 42.4 millimeters, megapixels. Sorry, millimeters, megapixels. You know what I mean? Are we trying to put the stuff on the side of the wind? You know what I mean? It's way too much megapixels for what we do.
Yeah.
The advantage, croppability, being able to, you know what I mean? But there's also a lot for people who don't know what they're doing or people who haven't shot enough. There's way too much space there for mistakes. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
But the
Because
thing
then-
is, I
no,
still
but
feel-
where I was going with that,
sorry.
really quick, where I was going with that was that in shooting with that, like a 24 megapixels versus 42, is that if you're posting on social media, no one's going to be able to tell what the hell you shot with.
You can shoot with A7S2 and shoot at 12
Exactly.
megapixels.
Exactly. It's kind
I
of like
mean-
the video world. Like a lot of people don't know. Once it hits YouTube or Facebook, the compression is so much that a lot of it doesn't even matter.
Yep.
When the bit rate and all that.
Yeah.
But
A lot
movies
of-
and whatnot, yeah.
A lot of people don't know the difference between sRGB and Adobe RGB. And social media is sRGB, not Adobe RGB. So when you shoot Adobe RGB, you edit Adobe RGB, and then you post to an sRGB platform, your colors are going to be off. And what do people complain about? That red is not, no, it's supposed to be a maroon.
Yeah.
So can you give everybody a quick tip on maybe how to fix that?
Shoot sRGB.
Okay.
Yeah.
How?
Is that just in?
You just change it in the camera.
Okay.
Yeah.
You can, and then when you
If
edit,
the intent is to post to social.
dude,
Got it.
let's get real.
But if
Everybody's intent is to post
I know,
on social.
but I'm just saying. So if you're going to print, you're doing
Yeah.
metal, you're doing acrylic, you're doing stuff like that. You know what I mean? Then depending on the printer that you're using and depending on all that stuff, they're gonna tell you, oh, make sure it's Adobe. You know what I mean? Or they will tell you what their printers print at, and then you simply, accommodate that. But a lot of people don't know that simple rule right there, sRGB versus Adobe RGB, is literally the game changer in regards to people going, why does your skin look like that? You know what I mean? Why does this look like that? Okay, that outfit isn't, so from the stylist complaining to the model complaining to the makeup artist complaining, and
Yeah.
it
That
all
in
has to
mind,
do with,
for sure.
Oh, another quick tip: if you're shooting something that's gonna get printed, you edit in Cmyk.
Mhm.
Boom.
depending on the printer. Depending on the printer too. No, I'm
That's
just
not
saying.
that's not what I heard. I heard it's always Cmyk.
Yeah, but I mean, depending on the printer. The quality of the printer, let's put it that way.
Does Sony have any printers?
I don't know.
Canon has printers.
Printers
do
are
you?
always shit.
But I'm saying if because Canon cameras are big on Adobe RGB, right?
Right.
So I would assume their printers
Are
are
they?
too.
I don't know.
Yeah. What I used to have a 6D, it was always preset to Adobe RGB or whatever it was.
Hmm.
sRGB was never something I'd go into.
Right.
But yeah, there you go. Good.
What was that?
What was that?
I was moving the microphone.
Oh, okay.
All right, cool. I think that about pretty much wraps it up, man. I don't know.
That's a long one.
That
Longest
was
one.
probably the longest podcast we did, man.
Hour and 42 minutes.
Ooh, there we go. We're gonna give you.
Are there people still watching?
George is watching.
Oh, cool.
He said,
Shout out to
"You're
George."
trash,"
Ooh,
and he doesn't want you back.
shout out to George.
Hey, he said, ask him if his camera can shoot pores. What does that mean?
Oh, that's an inside joke.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's
Oh.
an inside joke.
Okay.
Not for the morning dinner.
No. Okay, so.
Oh, the skin textures. How you love skin textures.
No, he was talking about pores. So there was, I was recently commissioned to do several shoots, and the person who commissioned me to shoot was used to their past photographer used either a phase 1, so 100 megapixel camera, right? And so they would
Is that a
always say,
Hasselblad?
yeah. So they would always say, you know, that they could zoom in and you could see the pores. So now the inside joke is, you know, oh, I can't see the pores. You know, so now in the last 2 shoots, now you can see the pores. So they're kind of, you know, they're going, oh, that's pretty interesting. I'm like, yeah, 42.4 megapixels versus 100 megapixels. 100, yeah. You're more
I don't
than
know,
welcome
man.
to buy me a
I can see pores.
$50,000 camera, though.
I can see pores on an A7R2.
I know. But I'm just saying, like, in regards to, you know, if I'm stepping back, I think one of the shoots I was probably 10 feet away from the subject. So, you know, it's...
Pixel-wise, that'd be like, what, 100 megapixels would almost be like 1,400 by, I think, like 10,000.
Larger than that, yeah.
Like
But you could see
crazy
pores.
big, bro.
Yeah.
You could see pores. You could put little miniature people in there and, like, put water in, and you can have them, like, diving into it, and it look like a... You know, that was the inside.
On the long side, the A7R2 is 42 megapixels,
2.4, yeah.
and it's 8,000 pixels. So we're talking about more than twice that.
Yeah.
Almost 2.5.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So we're
That's
looking
crazy,
at
bro.
almost 20,000 pixels. Wow, that's got to be like a gigabyte image right there, man.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Oh, I think that about wraps it up, man. Did you want to have it? Do you have any last closing remarks?
Look at that nostril flare.
My goodness.
Plug
Is
yourself.
his gate on? Is this because I can't hear anything from his microphone?
Damn, you hella quiet, bro.
No, because I was, like, trying to read your, like, body language, because I was waiting to see if either one of you were going to cut me off with the,
Oh,
like, some...
don't listen to my body language. Those are my words.
He ain't no damn model, bro. You ain't taking photos of him.
Want to take pictures of me, bro?
Oh, man. Wow.
Well, this has been the morning dinner.
Hold on a second.
Wow.
Let me say this, though.
Wow.
Yeah, go ahead.
Let me
10-second time over here.
let me say one thing real quick. There have been creators in the past that have tried to do something like what you guys are doing, and they get frustrated with it, you know, and they give up. I'm not gonna say they give up, but they get sidetracked and then they go to something else just because of the workload that's required to be able to do something like this. A lot of people don't realize there's 3 cameras here that are set up. You know what I mean? You have 3 audio inputs, you have the post editing, you have all that kind of stuff. You know, that takes a lot of motivation, ambition, and then loyalty, you know what I mean, to your craft and then also to your passion. So one thing I do want to do is commend you guys on everything that you're doing, because if you stick with it, I don't think this city has anything like this, and it could go places. So the reward's down the road, but it's a very long road. But at the same time, in that road, you will become better and you will evolve, and you'll get to the point where it's going to be something that I think a lot of people are going to try to imitate.
Thank you,
know what I mean? And
Thank
so
you,
it's really dope what you guys are doing. I've watched every single podcast,
Yeah,
and,
thank
and
you.
this is not a sponsored video, and so you know, and it's every single one has gotten better. You know, the subjects that you guys have, the character, I mean, the people that you have, all the different, you know, things that they do, is super dope. And in the end, at the end of each podcast, if everybody gets a chance to watch every single one, it all comes back to, through the thick and thin, if you have a passion for something, stick to it. Because in the end, it will reward itself. You know what I mean? And whether or not your reward is money, whether or not your reward is fame, whether or not your reward is being able to take care of your family or get more gear
Or just be happy.
or just be happy, it will reward itself. You know what I mean?
Real talk.
Thanks, man. Yeah, well, our goal for this podcast was essentially because there's a lot of creative people, a lot of cool people out here in Vegas that we personally both know, and just kind of like Jonathan was one of my top favorite podcast episodes to film, and it's just because of how his kind of life has been structured and how he got to from where he was to where he is now.
Mm-hmm.
I think so that's a story that not a lot of people get to hear.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it's like we're both videographers. We have our technical knowledge in how to start a podcast, and we've always wanted to because we listen to podcasts all day. You know, that was one of our goals, was to kind of help spread the word on local. It doesn't matter if you're a creative, if you're a business entrepreneur, if you're a teacher or mogul, whatever it is you do. If you have something to say that people can benefit from, we want to have you on here. You know,
It doesn't cost $10,000 to go see it.
no, exactly. It's completely, it's open source, man. It's out there. You know, we provide every single episode for free on all streaming platforms, and then we upload the video to YouTube, man.
Yeah.
You know, we have a couple people lined up for the future episodes, and it's gonna get better, man.
Yeah, it's only gonna get better because we're just having fun, and that's what it's all about.
Yep.
It's just doing what we love, and it's not really like a job.
Yeah.
So we're just having fun with it.
Yeah,
man.
that's one of the other things about this podcast is we want it to be as simple as possible for us to be able to replicate over and over again, to where it doesn't become a job. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like a process that, you know, kind of like with the editing for the videos and everything, we reduce that to a minimum so we don't have to edit that much. You know what I mean? That
Right.
way it doesn't become a job, and we're like, okay, well, we've already filmed the episodes. Now we got to watch an hour, 2 hours of footage all over again, and you know, kind of do it that way. But yeah, thanks, man.
Yeah, of
Yeah,
course.
means a lot, man.
Appreciate
For
it.
sure.
All right, well, we'll have you on again, and then for everybody who's listening, we'll have your information down in the description, down in the show notes for all the audio streaming platforms. You guys can go check them out at Andrew Photo LV on Instagram. Do you have a YouTube or anything like that, or a website?
Not yet.
Okay,
No.
well, we'll go check them out on Twitter.
Oh,
Instagram. Sorry, I've got all my social medias
Go
everywhere.
check them out on MySpace.
All right,
My AOL? No, I'm just kidding.
At AOL.
thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you guys on the next morning dinner.
Every time I come in the kitchen, you in the kitchen, in the goddamn refrigerator.
I sure am hungry.